Imagine yourselves to be children again on the first walk you ever had with your parents, or hike up into the mountains, the hills, the forest. Imagine yourselves as children. Those of you who have been here already for a bit and have been here with some of the crowds of children, maybe that's going to be easier for you, okay? Just get back in that mindset of being open and being ready to learn more about yourself and about life here in the communion. So we're going to have a meditation for a moment. So I encourage you, if you'd like to, I do this with my students all the time. If you'd like to sit up straight, put your feet flat on the floor. If you want your hands to be on your knees face down or face up, whatever your preference. Imagine yourself to be around the fire. And you can close your eyes for a moment and just get in touch with your breathing. That incredible gift of God's life coming in and out that we're sharing with one another. And as you're breathing deeply, I invite you to listen to your heart, your body, your mind, and see if you might be carrying any burdens with you, any weight of life, loss, pain, anger, sadness. Whatever that might be, I invite you for a moment to see what that is inside you. What have you carried here today? Listen to these words that are so familiar to us, that invite us what God desires for us.
1 Corinthians chapter 13. If I speak in human and angelic tongues, but do not have love, I am a resounding gong and a clashing cymbal. And if I have the gift of prophecy and comprehend all mysteries and all knowledge, if I have all faith so as to move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away everything I own, and if I hand my body over so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It is not jealous. Love is not pompous. It is not inflated. It is not rude. It does not seek its own interest. It is not quick-tempered. It does not brood over injury. Does not rejoice over wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hope all things, endures all things. Love never fails. If there are prophecies, they will be brought to nothing. If tongues, they will cease. If knowledge, it will be brought to nothing. We know partially, and we prophesy partially. But when the perfect comes, the partial will pass away. When I was a child, I used to talk as a child, think as a child, reason as a child. When I became an adult, I put aside childish things. At present, we see indistinctly, as in a mirror, but then face to face. At present, I know partially, then I shall know fully, as I am fully known. So faith, hope, love remain, these three things, but the greatest of these is love.
Open my eyes, Lord. Help me to see your face. Open my eyes, Lord. Help me to see. Open my ears, Lord. Help me to hear your voice. Open my ears, Lord. Help me to hear. Open my heart, Lord. Help me to love like you. Open my heart, Lord. Help me to love. I live within you. Deep in your heart, oh love, I live within you. Rest now in me.
The burdens that you thought about that came to your minds and hearts, I'm going to ask you to write them down now. No identifiers. Fold up the piece of paper and then bring it and put into the basket here. You're setting them down for a while, okay? And it's preferable that you yourself come up and drop it off if you can. If you need a runner, someone will run it up for you, okay? Otherwise, time for some exercise. In the high altitude, it's good. So everybody, thank you for bringing your burdens. So I have a story to tell you about someone who was a mentor for me and someone who I consider in some ways, I stand on his shoulders. His name is Tom Nelson. Maybe some of you know him, met him. You could see us, that hippie looking guy with him. We're on a cliff at Yosemite having liturgy with a group of volunteers, Vincentian volunteers. And he was a gentleman who was an engineer in the Gemini program, felt a call into the priesthood. He was right, if not in Frank's class in St. Louis, he was one right around that time period. He felt a calling to go to Gethsemane and become a monk. So he became a monk there. He read all of Merton's stuff, whatever is done, his journals, all his journals in the longhand, you know. He was a Merton scholar. He eventually found his way, because life was physically too hard for him, to where I was at school in Perryville, Missouri. And we had immediately attached ourselves to him because he looked like an escapee from Gethsemane. He was a monk and he was gaunt, and it seemed like he knew something about prayer and about contemplation. We wanted to learn about contemplation, so he taught us. And we eventually decided we want to make a hermitage out in the woods too. So this is college students, we were 22, and we went out to the woods and we made a hermitage. But he continued to be a mentor for me over the years. He eventually did all sorts of good work, worked with a Catholic worker for years. And several years ago, he passed, and he had done many haikus, many haikus, and took beautiful photos, some of them here at Yosemite. And his friends put together a book, and recently of his haikus and his pictures together. And there was a book reveal, and we all went there, all of us who knew him. And when I was there, there were some posters that were giving away, and some went to go to Chris Pramick. Where's Chris at? Chris is over here. And so Chris got some of them, and Chris was going to get this one, but then it came to me through Chris's generosity. But we were looking at it, and it's like, isn't this interesting? This beautiful poster here, if you could see it here. So and Chris already has one in his office or outside of his office, so I didn't feel too bad. But this one has some names on it. Dorothy Brown, Daniel Berrigan, what? Mary Lou Tobin, Houston Smith, what? So some of those names you'll recognize. And so I think about some of the shoulders we stand upon. And here's a picture. Chris is on the far, let's see, what would it be in here? The far left. So maybe we're kneeling on someone's shoulders, not just standing on them, right? And that's the Romero House, the second year of Romero House. And anyways, what we want you to do is take a moment as we're thinking about our lives and our lives in this communion. You want to think about who are we standing on? What foundation do we rest upon? And we're going to do that in a creative way this evening. If you look at whatever's handed out to you, you should find some saints' names or some wonderful human beings that certainly God would consider saints, even if they didn't make it to be official canonized saints. And this exercise, what you're going to do is there's some questions there. You're going to find your saint twin. Everyone here has a saint twin, okay? You're going to find that saint twin moving about, walking about, and once you find your saint twin, you're going to sit down, and once everyone's seated, I'm going to give 5 minutes for one of you to talk, and then 5 minutes for the other person to talk, okay? And you're going to share. So go ahead, stand up and find your twins, okay? Yeah, it's the same name, same exact twin. Find the twin. Okay. If you're still lost and need assistance, come up here and I will give you an assist. I will give you an assist if you need an assist. Thea Bowman, number 3. Thea Bowman. Thea Bowman. Thea Bowman. It's interesting that we don't have another Thea Bowman. Okay, wait, hold on for a second. We'll mix you up. Anne Frank. Anne Frank. Do we have another Anne Frank? Anne Frank. Yeah, Anne Frank, yeah. You go with Carolyn Sue, yeah. Oscar Romero. Oscar Romero. Do we have an Oscar Romero? Oscar Romero, right here, John.
So closely related to my heritage, and so it was very meaningful for me. And you may be aware that when they celebrate the liturgy, the divine liturgy, it's very similar to how the Orthodox celebrate their divine liturgy. And so for the last 30 years, I've been making the sign of the cross wrong by Catholic standards, because I still believe in how we used to do it there. And so Bishop Pablo has asked me to teach you this way of signing ourselves. And so in the Eastern tradition, all of our faith basically comes down to the Trinity and the dual natures of Christ, right? And so when they bless themselves, they take their first 3 fingers, their thumb, their pointer, and their middle, and they bring them together. And that symbolizes the Trinity, Creator, Savior, and Sanctifier, yes? And then the last 2, they just press down into their palm, and that represents the divine and human natures of Christ. And so this is a symbol of their faith, summed up right in the palm of their hand. And then when they cross themselves, they start with the head and they come down, but then they come to the right shoulder and they land on their heart. And that's how it ends. So it's a little bit of a mirror image. So when we bless ourselves in this way, we have our fingers together with our other two down, and we go Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and we land on our hearts.
Beautiful,
Is that what
beautiful.
you-
That's
Okay.
perfect. So when we're gathered and we're in all sorts of wonderful discussion, and we want to like bring it to an end, to close. I'll lift my hand like this, and I'll invite you to do the same. And that means you're going to be shutting the conversation down, right? And then, of course, we're going to make the sign of the cross. Yeah, we finished. Beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Bob. One of the things that I've had the pleasure of, and I think, where is Frank? Frank, there you, Frank. Frank has had this same pleasure and privilege to travel around the country and to meet all sorts of wonderful communities. And one of the things that I've experienced time and time again is asking people, so how did you find us? Like, what was like before you found us? And oftentimes I have this image here of a desert, right? We were, and I could say from my own experience, wandering in the desert. It's like, where am I? And how come it's so hot? And I can't find the answers, and I'm lost, and I'm feeling lonely, and it's getting dark out, and what do I do? And then somebody pulls up the torch. They hold it up, and we see that they invite us someplace, and we find our ways to the communities that we have found over the years. And when that happens, it feels like you're discovering an oasis. This sense of like, oh, finally, water. I have life back again, right? And you know how that is for you in your own experience. Just think of it, what that was like discovering the community or the communities that you found. So I'm just going to show you some slides. You're going to see, it feels like this. This is some of our Romero House students in El Salvador. It feels like that, this wonderful sense of love, acceptance, inclusion, diversity. It's just a sense of like, wow, I'm welcome. And someone's not just tolerating me, someone's celebrating me. What a huge difference, right? Just brings joy. It's that living water that comes to us through our communities. And so you could just see these different communities traveling around. And this was at the ordination of Deacon Bessam, who unfortunately could not make it here because the U.S. Embassy there would not give her a visa. I think they're tightening down right now for whatever reason. There's more at Charis community back then. Just look at the joy on people's faces. Here we are at the East Coast retreat. Wow, I just remember that. What a beautiful time. Lots of love, lots of goodness. This is at the Rocky Mountain Synod we had. Beautiful. This is at Holy Trinity. I was there for a mass of a chrism mass. All Souls, it looks like. All Souls, there we are. And another person, there's 3 folks from Florida that couldn't make it today. 2 were very smart and they drove an RV all the way from Florida here. Others tried to fly out and couldn't because of the storm. This is a Deacon Bob Pagano's deacon ordination. You could see some of the folks that visited there. Yeah, beautiful. They couldn't make it. Here we are in a very hopeful, beautiful retreat we had in St. Louis area as we tried to work out through some of our issues and stuff that was going on in the Midwest. And we kind of know how that went, but we see love present, right? Good people wanting to do good things. And this is one of my favorite pictures here coming up. This is a Deacon Tammy's priesthood ordination. And you see Bishop Peter there. There's Tammy. Mother Diane's there. You see Martha and Yeti. Anyways, people that we love and care about, and we're thankful for these moments of being together. At Holy Angels. And we're in Phoenix.
Tempe.
Tempe, I'm sorry, Tempe, yeah. This was in Little Rock, and beautiful people. Got to meet wonderful people, and you could see Carol Ann, who is now Mother Carol Ann. She's was ordained to the priesthood. We're thankful for that. I remember being in that back row just recently. Mary hosted us for the Mary Magdalene Society. So this picture, I can't help but when I see who you are and how you are in the world, there's so much goodness and so much love. And in the middle of the love that's present, it's like what I love about us, it's not like, well, it's just us and oh, it's so good to be together, isn't it? It's just, we so love each other. But what happens is that love is such that it's like, I got to give this away. We got to do something, and our hearts are touched by the wounds of the world, right? I mean, right now, who's not hurting by what's going on in the Ukraine, in Gaza, what's happening on our own borders with our immigrants, what's happening in many parts of the world, the violence, and we get close to it, and we respond to it. There's words that come, and so I come from a Vincentian background, proudly so. Where's my buddy Mike Crotty? My buddy Mike Crotty, he was my chaplain at my priesthood ordination. Yeah, so he was a Vincentian as well. It's in his heart, and these words of Saint Vincent, I'm realizing we all have like some sort of Vincentian nature. Let us love God, brothers, would say sisters, not his siblings. Let us love God, but let it be with the strength of our arms and the sweat of our brow. Practicalness. So very often many acts of love of God, of complacency, of benevolence, and such interior affections and practices, although very good and very desirable, are nevertheless to be suspected if they do not reach the practice of effective love. Effective love. We should strive to keep our hearts open to the suffering and wretchedness of other people, and pray continually that God may grant us the spirit of compassion, which is truly the spirit of God. I was talking with brother, I always forget, Peter Vich's, Brother Claudio, this morning as I was watching the sunrise, and on the East Coast it was a little bit later, and just talked about how his heart's going out to families and people he's met in Gaza, and he just shared pictures and heartbreaking stories of families torn up, children being murdered by bombs, and I just love the fact that he has decided, and sorry, Peter, you're watching this. I'm telling you, it's like I'm outing you. He chose to send his money to help people in dire needs rather than to come here. So God bless him, right? For what he's doing. And it is like all of us, there's people in our lives, there's things we know. You might look at these and say, that's kind of funky. What's going on here, buddy? And this is Stone from the Dominican Republic, and there's people I love dearly that are hurting. People in Guatemala and El Salvador that are hurting. I do things that are trying to help me remember people that are hurting in our midst, and how can I touch those wounds and I see we are in what we do. I asked you all to send to me, and I'll send them out to you all, the things that you do in your communities. I was going to read them, but I realized it would take probably an hour to read all the things that you're doing in your community. So they're hung up, blown up big in the chapel. That's like our stained glass windows in there, right? Is all the outreach that you're doing. So as you go in there to pray, read and see the beautiful works that are going on in our communities. There is no act of charity that's not accompanied by justice, or that permits us to do more than we can reasonably do, and we know that, charity and justice, they go together, right? You can't have one without the other, right? So we know that, and we've been taught that, and we try to practice that in our own lives. So it's so proud for me. I know when Carolyn Sue was finding these and reading these and collating for me, she says, I can't believe what so many communities are doing. It's so impressive and inspiring. Wow, beautiful, beautiful. What I'm going to ask you to do now, one of the things that happens to me when I go for my walks, I guess I have to share with you. So my buddy Mike knows this. I walk around the Platte River and I pray, and I usually say, okay, God, how about a sign of your love for me today? That'd be good. And if you will, how about maybe in the sign of like a piece of petrified wood? I mean, that's that asking too much? Well, every time it's like there they show up. And so they're usually in the mud and in the riverbed. So I find them. And then I show them to my wife, and she's like, yeah, it looks like a rock. Yeah. It's a rock from the canyon. I said, no, really, it's a fossil. I could tell you that. And anyways, I have an eyepiece and I look at them and clean them all off. And anyways, this is just a small amount of them here. Relics of Mother Earth. Okay, they're relics of Mother Earth. On Monday, we're celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day. And hopefully in this whole weekend, we're holding the importance of care for Mother Earth. There were plants. These were all trees, and you can see rings in some of them, but they were all like alive, right? And this beautiful act of creation. And these are reminders like, oh my gosh, this has been going on for millions of years, and I'm part of it. And I get to care for it too. In regards to the connection here between service and getting our hands muddied, I find that touches my heart the most. When I meet people that are suffering, then it's like, okay, my theory, comes to practice. My spirituality becomes real. And you know this, right? And I'm so thankful for you that you know this and that you live this, right? So I'm going to ask you all to come up. I have two people that are going to help me hold these bowls full of petrified wood, relics of Mother Earth. And I'm going to ask you to come forward as, where's Linda at? Linda, if you want to come forward. Buddy, are you still there? Yeah. They were chosen by the Spirit on the way here because Linda was just, she was like 100 feet away from here. And I said, Linda, what are you doing here? You're here right now. Great. Hop in the car. And then we got lost trying to find our way. Took her like a half hour to get back here. But so that's how the Spirit chose her. And Mike drove today from Texas, right? So he's here with us. So I'm going to ask you to take these, and with your buddy, I was going to make you find another buddy, but maybe not right now, okay? With your buddy, that second question that's on there, again, I'm gonna go with 3 minutes and then 3 minutes. Okay, I'll time you again. So come on up, take your symbol of Mother Earth, the relic of Mother Earth. Talk to your buddy about service, right? The service that you do, the service that your community does, and how you get into the mud and what that does to you, right? One of the things I need to share with you, because it's one of the ways, and maybe you have phrased this saying in different ways in your own communities, but I think you recognize the concept well. If you have come here to help me, you're wasting your time. If you have come here because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let's work together. You might have heard that saying before, and Lilia Watson was working with a group of Aboriginal rights groups in Queensland, and they came up with that. Oftentimes, sometimes I've seen my students where they might be at another place in their formation, and it's, gosh, we went and helped the people who are poor, and we feel really good about ourselves. You know, and there's nothing wrong feeling good that you did something good, but be on the receiving side of that and ask the question, why do I even need this? Right? And it leads you to ask the justice questions, right? And that's what I think so many of us from our formation, from the good education we've had, we've asked those questions, right? And that's what we know we have to always tie our charity together with justice, and then be in a relationship in some way that we feel and we sense that might be giving something, but I'm receiving something. I'm receiving something, right? And what is that I'm receiving, right? So I'm privileged to be a part of a people that understands this, right? I see so many of you nodding your head, just like, that's right. That's right. That's how we have to about this work. When I think about an image for ourselves, you know, sometimes I think of the big aircraft carrier, the cruise ship of the Roman Catholic Church that I came from, and then I think of us as the ECC, maybe more of a sail ship, you know, something a little smaller. Maybe we're a lot smaller, right? And I think of all the people it takes to help operate this vessel, right? And so today we could just, that we're here, and some of you have been checked in, have been receiving stuff, but we just have to give applause to the Synod Planning Committee and committees. I mean, oh my gosh. People working behind the scenes. And I just want to, again, for some of you might not realize how many of us are involved in doing beautiful work. So I'm just going to mention some of the works that people are involved with. And I'm not going to mention probably many names. It's, well, you know who you are and the good work you do, but pastors and clergy, the House of Ladies Steering Committee, House of Pastors Steering Committee, our chaplains, all the good work they're doing around the country, our Leadership Council, Council of Bishops, Mary Magdalene Society, the Faith and Reconciliation Commission, our Finance Committee, our vicars, in the ways that they're working, our religious communities, the Franciscans who are with us, the Benedictines, the Ecumenical Study Group that is eventually going to hopefully be a commission. I think of the work that Frank, you all know, has been working as part of the steering committee of the National Council of Churches, doing that wonderful work of ecumenical work, helping to bring us to a deeper connectedness with one another, and helping us see what it's like to be having a structure that's not going to break apart in the waves. we got some talking to do about that one. Okay. Some of you might know that Bishop Keta is the chair of the Catholic Bishops Forum Safe Church Policy that has been established and we're working with. You all know, or maybe not, that George has been our counselor for years, right? Many years, 16 years, chancellor. So very thankful for George's work. Mary, you've met Mary. Some of you didn't know Mary, but now you do know Mary. And if you need a check to be sent someplace, she will help you. Carolyn Sue has been wonderful with our communications going out throughout the communion. So we're very thankful for all these different groups of people. We think of the people that help this sail, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful for all of you and everything you're doing. This next picture comes with a little bit of pain because some people have paddled away from us. I was thinking about how do I describe this feeling of, it's like, we're still in the same sea, we're still hopefully doing the same good work, but we were in close relationships. So I know there's probably some feelings of loss and mourning that have gone on. And I know we've been speaking of this on numerous occasions, but we send out our best blessings to our sisters, brothers, siblings who are continuing God's work, doing what they're doing, and we want the best for them, right? And we're very thankful for what they have given us over the years. So blessings, and we think of the good work that's going on. Going to go back to this slide is other ships that are around us. I think of like we have Tomasz and his communities in Poland, right? Communities in Belgium. We think of the good work that's being established by Bishop Armando and his community with people in Mexico. There's a connection with Cameroon right now, and another one with, I'm not sure, maybe Frank would know, the one that's connected with Tomasz in Africa. In Cameroon, okay, yeah. Yeah, so we're very thankful for those who are seeing the good work and want to be connected with us. Bishop Keta just shared with us today about communities that have been really, really hurt and damaged by their mother churches, and they're trying to find another place to land. And she's trying to say, come aboard, come aboard. We'd love to have you aboard. So thank you for your work with that. All of you who are trying to spread the word, because there's people out there in so many cities, when they hear about us, they say, is there one in my city? And we say, there could be, and you could start it. And that's how it is, right? So finally, some of you, I've been able to have the good fortune to be in Rome and kneel and pray at the tomb of Saint John the 23rd, and who surprisingly was inspired by the Spirit. Now, if you knew him, maybe not, but to speak a word to the whole church to open up, right? Open up. And so on this day, back in 1962, right, the council was opened, right? I want to share with you just a couple words from him. And this book comes from the collection of a brother, Martin, who in another life became Tony Battaglia. Tony Battaglia. Some of you know Tony. Brother Martin, was that his name? His religious name? Tony's, what was his religious name? Oh, it was Gregory. Okay, Gregory, I'm sorry. So this was his book that you gave me, and it's very yellowed. And it's was 95 cents at the time. And this was from the opening talk that John the 23rd gave. Illuminated by the light of the counsel of the church, we confidently trust will become greater in spiritual riches and gaining the strength of new energies. Therefore, she will look to the future without fear. In fact, by bringing herself up to date where required, and by the wise organization of mutual cooperation, the church will make people, families, return their minds to heavenly things. Goes on to say, in the daily exercise of our pastoral office, we sometimes have to listen, much to our regret, to voices of persons who, though burning with zeal, are not endowed with too much sense of discretion or measure. In these modern times, they can see nothing that prevarication and ruin. They say that our error, in comparison with past errors, is getting worse, and they behave as though they have learned nothing from history, which is none the less the teacher of life. They behave as though at the time of former councils, everything was a full triumph for the Christian ideals. and life and for proper religious liberty. We feel we must disagree with those prophets of doom who are always forecasting disaster, as though the end of the world were at hand. In the present order of things, divine providence is leading us to a new order of human relations, which, by our own efforts and even beyond their very expectations, are directed towards the fulfillment of God's superior and inscrutable designs. And everything, even human differences, lead to the greater good of the church. So it says here, this comes from a book, The Revolution of John the 23rd. I would like to think that we're revolutionaries. Amen. Amen, right? I would like to think that we're peaceful revolutionaries, that we're loving revolutionaries, but we've been given something, the fact that we're here, somebody somehow opened the windows and the Spirit blew through our hearts and we realized there was something more and we discovered it and we're eternally grateful for that. So, sisters, brothers, siblings, this font that comes from St. Francis Church in Largo was brought here by John Leo in the RV. Thank you so much. When I saw it, I said to myself, you know, that three-legged stool just isn't working for me any longer. This is it. It's the three-pillared font. The three-pillared font. The three-pillared font. We're all holding this living water, and it's something to be giving to the world, right? We're receiving it, we're giving it to the world, and we're doing it all together. I love it. They're all together. They're all together. They're united, and this living water that we're going to be blessing one another with right now is something that we're challenged to give to the world. And so this image in the DR is a pier. Some of you know how to swim, some of you don't. Don't worry, in the spiritual life, you just run and you jump, right? You jump, okay? The Spirit's inviting us to do that today and this weekend, calling us to jump into those living waters and allow ourselves to be as children, to play, to be transformed, to be healed, right? To be called forth to what God is calling us to do. So, another exercise, this is just simply to come up here and take someone else's burden. And you're going to be praying for that person during this weekend, right? And then I want you to come up here. I'm going to bring this down to lower level, but we're going to bless each other, okay? If you'd like to come up here with your saint buddy twin, come up here. If you didn't have a saint buddy twin, you're a triplet somehow, come up here as well. And during this, we're going to be singing Come to the Water. There's one more thing I have to say. I just forgetting it finally. We began with love. I want to end with love, okay? James Finley, disciple, a novice under Thomas Merton, this beautiful book called The Healing Path. If you have any need of healing in your life, let him lead you to it. And if you need some people to find healing, what a gift he has given. So I share with you as we conclude here. May each of us at our own pace, in our own way, continue to find our way along this path, this way of life, in which we are learning from love how to be healed from habits of our minds and hearts that compromise and do violence to love. And may we continue on this way, this walk in the woods, right? Through all our days, learning from love how to die of love, until in the end there will be nothing left of us but love. And may we within ourselves know and trust that when the moment of our death finally comes, that nothing will happen save being transported from a veiled to an unveiled immersion in the deathless mystery of love that has been welling up in giving itself to us and as each passing moment of our lives. Amen. So be it. So thank you for being here this evening. We have just a couple announcements. So here we are again. Our time is short. Our time is short. Our time is short and we're tired, but we aren't tired enough to not want to go to evening prayers. That's going to be in a couple minutes. In the name of the Father, Son. So a couple announcements. Do you want it? We'd like to start. Okay.
Hi, y'all. I'm not from here. I'm from Kentucky. Okay, so we just, now that we got that out of the way. Yeah, yay, right in the holy land of Kentucky. Yes, sir. Announcements. Okay, I have two. First one is Mary Lou Stinson, who's been my fabulous right hand today, and Mary Vonderheit has been my left hand. And because I've had a little bit of adjustment to the altitude, and sometimes the words were just not coming out of my mouth right. So this is Mary Lou's message. Drink water, stay hydrated. And I'm here to tell you it's true. So she asked me to announce that. She is not here right now because she had to take Frank Quintana to the emergency room. So please just keep him in your prayers. We're hoping it's something very simple. The second announcement is about, there's a wonderful volunteer many of you are aware of named Kelly DeHaas, who managed to get so many people from the airport to here. And then her wonderful husband, Steve. Where are you, Steve? There he is. Stand up, Steve. There's my good friend, Steve. So Kelly asked me to make this announcement. And Steve also pointed out to me, Kelly does not like surprises. Kelly really does not like surprises. Kelly really, really does not like surprises. As such, if you need transportation to the airport on Monday and you have not already contacted or heard from Kelly, please contact her yesterday. I mean, as soon as possible. There are no extra spaces at this time. So if you need a ride, please let her know so she could schedule more volunteer drivers. I have her telephone number. And if you can't find me, just follow the sound of my Kentucky accent, okay? But please find me if you do, so that, because she will take care of it. She will get it set up and get you up there. Now on Monday at our closing, I will have her second announcement about getting you back down the mountain to the airport on time, okay? Gives you something to look forward to, doesn't it? So that's all I have. Thank you very much. And now, Art, Rob. See, I'm telling you, the words won't come out right sometimes. My good friend Rob, brother James. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is just a brief FYI for something that's going to be coming later this weekend when we do our planning conversations on Sunday. There is a pre-conversation survey that I need everyone to please complete because this is our synod, this is our church, and so we all need to participate. So I'm going to change the screen here momentarily and you will see a QR code. I'm not telling you to take a survey rather than going to evening prayer. That is not what I'm saying, okay? I will be also circulating tomorrow, especially during lunchtime, to make sure that everybody knows how to use a QR code and knows how to access the survey. But it's very important that everybody does. And this applies to the folks on Zoom too. I'm going to change the screen so you'll have access to it. It's just very important that everybody participates so that everybody has a voice because this is important. And you are important. You are as important as a cow at a Colorado casino because the stakes are high. Unfortunately, we don't have much time for my humor this evening. Please, not joking, do take the survey. Do come find me if you can't figure out how to do the survey, please. That's all. Okay? All right, thanks.
Okay, and the last thing before we go to evening prayer at 9 o'clock, it'll be in Keyhole. That is in the bottom level of Longs Peak Lodge. Grab a friend if you're having trouble finding it. All of our special rooms are in Longs Peak. You can have the opportunity if you want to make a presentation or gather people in a conversation. I know our Truth and Reconciliation group, for example, wants to make sure we all really understand the possibilities and the opportunity of the pilgrimage. Come see me and we'll get you on the calendar and we'll announce when you are using that room. There's also another room that can be used if people want to just get together, any interest groups, whatever. Tomorrow night, the big dance party will be down there. And Sunday night, right? Tomorrow night, we'll have a coffee house here in this space for anybody who wants to come and sing and play and be together. And you'll talk about something else in a second. And I want to apologize to everyone who had to get transportation over here in a car. I know you were delayed and didn't get here in a timely fashion. We will work on that, I promise you. And I apologize to everyone who was greeted as they came through the door with, please stand in the back. We'll make sure that as we leave tonight that we have enough chairs set for everyone. So off to Pablo.
Okay, thank you. So the coffee house idea is if you have a special talent, if you have a special poem, if you have, I'm looking at Michael because Michael usually has something very special, right? If somebody has something special that they would like to share with the communion, please, we're going to have snacks, time to enjoy ourselves and to be church together. So that'll be really good. Finally, this Book of All Saints, from which many of you found your twin, and you might not know much about your twin. This is going to be in the chapel. Look it up when you go in there to pray. Also, you could take a picture, open it up, take a picture of the page about it, and you could read it at your leisure, okay?